Hey Matthew, we meet again. So, this is just bleach. It got bleached somehow a long time ago. Um, so you said I'm fascinated about psychology inside, right? Psychology, psychiatry. I think there are such important fields on the level of importance of the fields within medicine. Yeah, it can really help to know about how the brain works and how people think, I think too. So, I believe, I think, okay, so you said, what do you believe is the line, or is there a fine line between blaming people's actions on the individual or on the trauma they may have endured from within the environment they were nurtured in? I think that I think that you either grow from what you've experienced in the past or you soak in it. So I think that you can't blame your childhood for how you're acting now because you're older now. You should be able to, right from wrong. But I know that it's hard to I think you should focus on yourself. You shouldn't blame people's actions on the individual because that's their own problem. But I do think a big part of it is, the environment. That's a hard question. But I understand people, how they act, but some things, how people act, shouldn't be just like, well, that's how I am, because it's getting annoying. Like, oh, well, I was raised that way, because you can change. And so, what are your thoughts on how much fault is it of the individual for any said negative circumstance as opposed to the fault of the community of thought upbringing that led the person there? Yeah, I think it has a big effect. I think upbringing does, but I think it's also meant to happen. That's why I don't blame a lot of people for who've done things to me in the past, because I know that it's like they were meant to be that way, or I was meant to be raised that way so that I could be the person I am today. So I think that it's really good because you learn different things. But the bad thing is some people don't. They just never grow from those experiences. What are your thoughts? But it's hard. It's just really hard to answer because I know, like, somebody might, like, if they have a parent who's really mean, and how can you get over that? Like, who's really mean, and so they grow up being mean because that's what they saw. But I think that because it's really hard, because if a mom is not teaching you how to act right, what's right, then how do you know what's right? So I don't know. But I think that they will learn, because if they don't, then they'll keep on getting things coming to them until they do learn to change how they are. But because they'll learn that that's not making them feel better, it's only putting them into a darker state of mind and unhappiness. So I think they just have to really realize that this isn't making me happy, so I need to do something different. But I think when people are putting fault on their of their upbringing is when you know that they're not they're not acknowledging it. I mean, they're not acknowledging their faults. You know what I'm saying? They're not facing it. They just making excuses because they're not getting to the root of the problem. But I do, for a lot of things, I think it is the fault of your upbringing, though. But it's just, do you choose to grow from it or learn from it, or soak in it in a way where you just say, man, I wish I didn't go, why did I have to go through that? Because like it's over now, you can't wallow in it, or you're always going to wonder what would have been when it's never gonna have been, because it never happened. So I think it's more of in the middle of you need to face it, you need to really people who don't know how to face stuff about their past are the ones who do all the bad things, I think. And I don't know with some people how they can overcome that, because I know a lot of things that I know is right is because I was brought up that way, and I know that. And so for somebody who's been through so much and hasn't had somebody maybe to tell them right from wrong, to tell them that, I don't know, because if I was brought up that way, I don't know how I would be, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how I would be, because of, it's like being conditioned over and over again. It's like, since it's your upbringing, you are being conditioned to train that way. It's like, as soon as you become born, you know, or get older, it's just whoever is around you is telling you right, and that's your brain is thinking, okay, this was right. So I know it's gonna affect them in the future, like having bad relationships and all that stuff. So I do think upbringing does play a big part of it, but I wouldn't say that to somebody who is wallowing in it, because they're always gonna make the excuse of, well, my life was horrible, so like, you know, always saying, well, that's why my life is what it is, because of how I was raised. But I think you can really train yourself to be different. And I know a lot of people, it just depends on, I think, the circumstance. But this one's so hard. I don't know, it's like hard. I have sympathy for people who go through so much, who haven't learned from their past, you know, who had bad upbringings and ended up going the wrong route. I think that's just their lesson of going through that bad times, and even if they become a bad person, that's how their life is meant to go, to maybe even do like a domino effect, not a domino effect, but like they're meant to go through that harshness or like that bad upbringing, because when they get older, and if they maybe like turn bad, it's okay, because their meanness and stuff towards people can really make other people stronger. So it's like an effect. You might see it as bad, but I think some circumstances the badness can be good not for the person. I think the person will learn and grow, and if they don't, then they just don't. They'll just keep on hurting people, and people will have to get stronger from that or learn from that, or they'll have to hit rock bottom and really realize that they are who they are and not who they were raised to be. And so I don't think upbringings, I do think it's just hard. It's different if you have like somebody, like if you had a bad upbringing but you had somebody to tell you right from wrong, then I understand that they but it's so easy to get into the darkness. Since you're really sad, it's hard to get into the light, to be happy and positive. But to have somebody, at least be somebody to tell you what's right from wrong, will always give you a easier door to see that I can choose goodness over the badness. So I think teachers really help. But I know teachers don't really talk more about things like that, which I think they should. And like right from wrong, because a lot of kids don't have that. And people too, they always say maybe listen to your mom, listen to your parents, but maybe who they're telling you to listen to isn't who you should be listening to. I think that also as you grow up, you should learn. You should learn, or you will learn that maybe, for example, you had somebody in jail when you were little, like a parent or somebody. You went to jail and you had to wait for them to come back, and you were devastated, you're mad, but that showed you patience. And that you take on to your life, your future, to be patient in situations. You'll be thinking like, oh, I'm glad I'm patient. And sometimes people don't even look back and realize that their patience was because of the bad upbringing that they had. So I think if you can take the bad and turn it to good, then you can become a better person and become a person that is good to people. And you know what I'm saying? Because I know that people who are like that have maybe have really bad egos, like if their parents didn't care about them, like didn't listen to them or something. I understand it, and it's a long process of learning. Even I know people who are older still going through the ego thing of what happened in their childhood and how they were brought up. But I think it's not to blame I think it's a middle thing. It's in the middle of the individual in the negative circumstances, because I think that the person has to meet in the middle of it. Like, okay, that was my situation, my upbringing, but how can I balance it out? It's like a balancing thing of the badness and the good, like balancing it together so you can create something that you can grow from. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But I think if they're grown, like older, I get it. I mean, then, I don't think that there's a time limit to when you need to, that you need to, stop all that badness. But I think that it's just a process for everybody. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. When you learn how to turn that into positivity, turn it into something good. But for younger kids, I think it's definitely about the upbringing, because they're young. their brains are still developing, and they're only basing what's right with their experiences there around their family, and they're really gullible, kids are. And you put your family on a pedestal, your mom and dad, and so how they are thinking and what they're telling you is what is right, what you believe, because it's like you don't have your own mind when you're a kid. And so for kids, it's definitely, I think, the circumstances, the upbringing, but as it gets older, it shifts to, see, this is the person, what their faults, whatever, and this is their upbringing. So as they get older, it becomes more and more about the individual, like what they need to work on. It's not about the past, because it's not about how bad your past was, because you can see now, that the world now, that parents aren't always right, because you learned as now you're an adult, you're the same age that they were, whatever, that you know that you just as much as they were wrong about things, just as much as they're wrong about things, you are too. So it's like you kind of understand, and not, since you are more, your brain is more developed, you understand that people aren't always right. When you're young, you don't think that way. So I think that, it gets more when you get older, the fault of the individual, but I don't think there's a time limit for when a person should get out of that habit, because a lot of the times it's embedded in you. It's since you grew up thinking that way, or it's embedded in you, and sometimes you won't even know how, like, why you think the way you do, and you don't know why that is, because in the past, because your past experiences, like, because a lot of things that were traumatizing when we were younger was, you forget about it, not forget, but you block it out, because of this defense mechanism. When you have these, so much is overwhelming for a child, and so, like, I feel like when it's like that, where you can't remember things in your life, when you and your child, like, you might have not remembered all the negative conditioning that you were being trained in your head. All of that could be mainly about, that I understand about it being more of the upbringing, because some things you might do, you don't even know why. Like, why am I doing this bad stuff? Why am I thinking this negative way? Why I don't want to do this, when it might be something that was in the past that you don't remember, because you suppress it so much. So that's why I think therapy is really big. Like, you should go and talk to somebody and say, like, if you don't remember anything of your past, but you just feel like something's missing, that you can't remember, then you should go and talk to somebody about that, because when you get to the root of the issue, you can really become a better person and fight it off and understand it, because if you understand it, then you can know that's not, well, I'm just thinking that way because of this issue, so I need to know that was wrong, and that I have my own life to look forward to, that doesn't determine who I am, but I determine who I am. And so I think things that are are really suppressed, I think it's really about it, it's more of the upbringing being bad, being the main issue. But I think that if you really do try to work on yourself, then you can become a stronger person. And if you realize that you are the one, that you want to become a better person, and you try to do that, and you just, then that can happen. But that's hard. That's a hard question to answer, but see you later.